you like to fight Alex Pereira, UFC 300?
If he wants to, I will. But going on record and saying, I'm not a bully. I don't bully smaller guys. But if the smaller guy wants to scrap, can't be him.
Interim title, are you okay with that?
Well, what else are they going to do? Who else is knocking around in the heavyweight division? What other matchup are they going to do? It's difficult to say because Pereira's never fought heavyweight before, so you can definitely win the fight. Could go either way.
Do you have a preference?
Who wins?
Yeah.
I'd like to fight both of them. Both would be fantastic.
Initially, I would have said, I don't want them to waste the Gane Aspinall fight, but I feel like now it will only raise whatever fight you're coming back to.
You better get that money ready.
I'm at a place now where, you know, like I want to take what I find to be super fights. I don't want to fight dangerous up-and-comers anymore. I want to fight dangerous, established champions. So Tom can have the heavyweight championship. I don't really care about it. That my value doesn't lie in belts anymore. I've created something much bigger. I want Pereira.
That's awesome. Last one from me. I don't know if you're aware of this yet, but middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev has called you out and said that congratulations, but now you guys need to finish your business. Are you aware of what business that is, and are you interested in him moving up to fight you at this stage?
Obrigado pelos parabéns. Mas eu quero uma super luta, igual eu falei, pô, quero lutar nos pesos pesados. Então, só agradeço só pelos parabéns.
Thanks for congratulating me, but all I want is a super fight. I want to fight at heavyweight, but all I can say is thank you.
You know, it's crazy that you mentioned Alex then, because somebody was talking to me and said, who do you think that is out there that could beat Alex? And I said, you know what? Call me crazy. I said, but Khamzat at 205. Yeah. I think you have the style. Is that something you think about? Or like maybe
of course, I win. I've been always open for that. So I know stylistically this match for me much easier than other guys, you know. So because but in striking, I'm honest. I know the guy can knock me out, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone. I know the guy is a good striker, one of the best guy who has hardest punches. But I'm one of the best grappler, best wrestler.
Yeah.
He's not that.
Sure.
So
it'd be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, of course.
A 3-weight division champion, the first man to ever do that, if, of course, he beat Ciryl Gane at the White House on June 14th. I'm going to be there. Freedom 250, baby. Let's go, right? He just signed Pereira, Poatan, one of the hardest hitting guys the sport's ever seen. He just signed a lifetime deal with the UFC. He did an interview with Ariel Helwani and he went into all the details. He has signed an 8-fight deal. And I know I said lifetime contract. It's not a lifetime contract, but that's as good as a lifetime. The man is 38 years old. He signed an 8-fight deal. That means he ain't fighting anywhere else. And let me tell you, he is over the moon.
Alex Poatan Pereira, already crowned a ruthless 2-division king, now stalks the horizon for something almost forbidden. A third belt, a prize that feels less like history and more like a warning, waiting in the hands of the calculating Ciryl Gane. But beneath that looming collision, something darker brews, a question that refuses to stay buried. Who comes after? This fresh 8-fight pact, a near lifetime binding with the UFC at 38, doesn't just promise activity, it traps Pereira inside a cage of the most dangerous possibilities imaginable. Does this inked commitment drag him toward a brutal unification war with Tom Aspinall, or ignite the long-simmering venom-soaked clash with Khamzat Chimaev? And then, there's the shadow no one escapes, Jon Jones, the phantom who lingers where greatness turns to myth. This isn't just a contract, it's a loaded path, rigged with legacy-defining violence.
Deal. Here is the quote from Pereira, then we're going to talk about who does he fight? Who is there for Alex Pereira to fight? So he said, it was a pretty easy choice when I expressed that I wanted to go to heavyweight. Of course, I had to let go of the 205-pound belt, but they gave me a new contract, and I'm really, really happy with the new contract. Wants to thank everyone at the UFC with this new deal. I don't care about letting go of the belt. They took really good care of me. The way they gave me this last contract was so good that I left it open for them to do what...
His own words don't just confirm satisfaction with the UFC deal, they echo like a warning, revealing a hunger to storm the heavyweight division without hesitation. Dropping the light heavyweight belt wasn't surrender, it was a calculated disappearance, a move made with cold precision. And when he says he's left it open for them to do whatever they want with me, it doesn't sound like freedom, it sounds like chaos unleashed, and that's massive for fight fans. It signals something far more dangerous than confidence, a readiness to walk into any storm, especially now that the stakes and his pay have risen. This open stance is exactly what the UFC and we the fans crave when the conversation turns to monstrous showdowns against a dominant force like Tom Aspinall, or the haunting return of a legend like Jon Jones, or even the explosive rivalry with Khamzat Chimaev. There's no hesitation, no careful selection. He isn't choosing opponents, he's daring them all to step forward.
Assume he was making somewhere around $3.5, $4 million per fight. This new deal, which probably does lock him up for the rest of his combat sports life, is probably going to be around the $6 million, $5-6 million. Who knows, right? I'm guessing, I'm spitballing, but that would not surprise me. And look at this, Alex Pereira is not complaining. He is happy. And it's the same story with all the guys at the top of the sport. I know just recently, a lot of people have been talking shit about the UFC, but funnily enough, the champs, the people at the top of the sport, the best in the planet and in the division.
Let's be real, the money flooding into Pereira's new deal isn't just a bonus, it's the engine driving every brutal collision ahead. The surge from an estimated $3 to $4 million to a staggering $6 million per fight doesn't just confirm his rise, it stamps him as a walking event, a force the sport can't look away from. With that kind of backing, there's no room for quiet nights or easy wins. Pereira is locked into blockbuster wars, the kind that pull the entire MMA world into a single, breathless moment. But this isn't just about stacking cash, it's about carving his name deeper, cementing his place among the sport's most magnetic figures, standing shoulder to shoulder with giants like Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, and other looming threats circling the spotlight. The UFC isn't pouring this level of money into anything ordinary. They're investing in spectacle, in chaos, in moments that feel almost too big to contain. And that's exactly what these looming super fights promise. Not just competition, but unforgettable violence.
Now, the old cliche in combat sports is I don't want to look past my opponent because, you know, I'm focused on Ciryl Gane. And he should be, because that's a tough fight. But it's a very winnable fight. It's a very compelling, fun matchup. A lot of people came out talking shit to me because I said it might be a better matchup than Jon Jones. The reason I said that, and it's pretty goddamn obvious, is because it will be a striking affair, right? People didn't love the BMF because Charles Oliveira dominated the fight on the ground. And more than likely, I'm not being disrespectful to Pereira, you got to think that's what Jon Jones would do. He would take him down. And if Pereira could defend the submission...
The speaker cut straight into a nerve here. The raw, almost primal fan pull of striking versus grappling, a clash of styles that can make or break the moment. While Ciryl Gane presents a dangerous, compelling puzzle, the mere thought of facing Jon Jones drags a different kind of tension into the light, the suffocating threat of grappling. We've already seen how a ground-heavy war like the BMF title left sections of the crowd restless, craving something sharper, faster, more violent. And if Jones, armed with that relentless wrestling arsenal, manages to drag Pereira into the depths, it could smother the explosive stand-up battle everyone is desperate to witness. That possibility hangs heavy over the matchup, shifting the energy from chaos to control. This is where the analysis turns critical, because when you stack that against a potential collision with Tom Aspinall, a fight many envision as a high-level striking war, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. One promises suffocation, the other pure fire. And right there lies the UFC's dilemma, whether to gamble on tension or guarantee spectacle when booking these colossal showdowns.
It's gonna be a ridiculous fight.
Yeah, I used to always have a guarantee that there were certain fights you saw that you're like, it's impossible for this not to be good. And then the BMF title happened, last week. But
so based upon that knowledge, this makes for a better fan-pleasing matchup. But yeah, I'm a dickhead if I say that, right? Jesus Christ, you just can't win. So anyway, Ciryl Gane, who knows, right? Who knows if he wins that fight? We don't know. But he's still convinced that he's going to fight Jon Jones one day, because regardless of whether or not he beats Ciryl Gane, which is a tough fight, and if he does beat him, he becomes a three-weight division champion.
Despite the looming tactical fears surrounding Jon Jones and his suffocating grappling approach, the hunger for a Pereira versus Jones super fight refuses to die. It lingers, relentless, impossible to ignore. The speaker leans into that obsession, revealing that Pereira himself remains convinced this collision will happen one day, and that belief hits harder than any prediction. It exposes Poatan's unshaken confidence and the dangerous clarity of his legacy-driven vision. This isn't empty admiration or distant fantasy. It's the fighter's own voice feeding the fire, pulling the narrative deeper into something inevitable. The idea of two titans colliding, no matter how their styles threaten to clash or cancel each other out, still grips fans with an almost electric tension. It turns Jones into more than just an opponent. He becomes a constant, high-stakes shadow looming over Pereira's path. And by keeping that possibility alive, it fuels the imagination of millions who are waiting, almost impatiently, to see Bones step forward and test himself against another legend.
Be involved in nothing but block blockbuster fights. To be fair, that's all Alex Pereira's done, right? He had a quick rise through the middleweight division for Alex Pereira, and since then, it was Pereira time. Anytime he fought, he was the main event on the pay-per-view. The whole world went into a frenzy. Channels all over the place, knockouts galore, and a schedule that was insane, right? So he deserves all the accolades. And I know in the past, I might have bet against him because the first time Magomed Ankalaev beat him, I thought the possible anxiety from fighting Pereira and the power, that's gone. He's going to be more aggressive this time and better with the wrestling. But he got smoked. He got smoked in 69 seconds or something like that. So that's why I picked against him. I'm not hating on the guy. What he's done is phenomenal.
Alex Pereira hasn't just fought his way through the UFC, he's torn through it, leaving a trail of blockbuster moments since his rapid, almost unnatural ascent. From storming the middleweight ranks to headlining nearly every pay-per-view he touches, he hasn't just arrived, he's taken over, proving himself as a relentless, undeniable draw. The speaker nails it. Pereira's career feels less like a run and more like a surge, defined by chilling knockouts and a schedule that borders on reckless ambition. There's something almost unreal about how quickly he resets, reloads, and returns to war. And that history doesn't just impress, it locks in expectation. It guarantees that whoever stands across from him next won't just be good, they'll be dangerous, high stakes, and impossible to ignore. Whether it's Jon Jones lurking as a legacy-defining threat, Tom Aspinall waiting with undisputed heavyweight gold in sight, or Khamzat Chimaev simmering in a rivalry ready to explode, Pereira's path feels pre-written in chaos. There are no small fights left, only massive collisions waiting to happen.
Beats or loses to Ciryl Gane, who does he fight next? Well, he still thinks he's got a good chance of facing Jon Jones, because Jon Jones, Dana talked about it recently, he said he's done, he's got arthritis and all this, and Jon Jones came out and had a bit of a tweet and delete storm on Twitter, right? You never know. Jon Jones might come back because, as Pereira said, he's under contract. They're not going to release him from contract. And if Jon Jones gets that itch and gets that scratch, listen, I'd still love to see it. And Pereira still wants to fight Jon Jones. And that would be something unbelievable. And if Pereira goes off and becomes a 3-weight division champion, right?
The storm around Jon Jones's potential return never settles. It shifts, twists, and threatens to explode at any moment. And the speaker taps directly into that chaos. Dana White's remarks about Jones being finished or sidelined by arthritis don't land as final truths. They feel like pressure tactics, flashes of frustration that are almost instantly unraveled by Jones himself the moment he fires back on social media. It creates a narrative that refuses to stay buried. The real takeaway lurks beneath the noise. Jones is still under contract, still tethered to possibility, and if the money aligns, if that irresistible scratch is met, the door doesn't just open, it gets kicked in. Now add Pereira's open, almost obsessive desire to face him, and suddenly the tension sharpens into something dangerous. A clash with a potential 3-weight king like Pereira isn't just another fight, it becomes a defining edge, either the perfect final crown for Jones or the most unforgiving test he's ever faced. This is bigger than divisions, it's legacy colliding with greed, pride, and the kind of stakes that legends can't walk away from.
Might want to come back, and Dana and the UFC and Hunter and everyone might go, you know what, he can be a liability, but dude, we gotta do this fight. So there's 2 fights, right? Of course, there's the undisputed champion of the world, Tom Aspinall, right? I don't know when Tom's gonna come back, hopefully soon, right? And I truly mean that. If Ciryl Gane wins, of course, he's gonna fight Tom Aspinall. So there's 3 mega blockbuster fights potentially on paper that could happen, right? Jones, Pereira at the White House, and Tom Aspinall for the undisputed belt.
The vision of these 3 looming blockbuster wars, Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, and Ciryl Gane as a brutal stepping stone toward Aspinall's throne, feels less like matchmaking and more like a carefully laid path through chaos. The speaker zeroes in on something deeper, the UFC's willingness to risk it all, to push forward with a Jones versus Pereira clash despite any looming liabilities, simply because the demand has grown too loud to ignore. It's not cautious, it's inevitable. And then comes the real twist, the quiet but powerful presence of Tom Aspinall, positioned as the undisputed force waiting in the shadows, ready to collide with whoever survives the storm. That detail shifts everything. If Pereira manages to break through Gane, he doesn't just advance, he walks straight into something even more dangerous. This breakdown doesn't just list opponents, it builds a hierarchy of escalating threat, with Aspinall sitting at the peak as the ultimate prize, while the haunting allure of a Jones super fight continues to linger, refusing to fade, pulling everything toward a collision that feels destined.
3 of the biggest fights the UFC will ever put on, right? And that is what Pereira's involved in, and of course, getting compensated accordingly. And when you look at outside of them 3, who else is there? Because when you look at the rankings, there's not too many people. We know that the heavyweight division isn't exactly the most stacked, okay? There's some really good guys at the top, and then he drops off, but you have got guys like Curtis Blades, of course, Waldo Cortez Acosta, that man's absolutely flying right now. That'd be an interesting fight. There's Gable Stevenson, right, who was yet to sign with the UFC.
The speaker cuts into a hard truth. The heavyweight division, beyond its razor-thin elite, feels dangerously shallow, and that scarcity reshapes everything for a force like Pereira. There simply aren't enough matchups that carry the weight, the tension, the spectacle he now demands, which makes the idea of super fights against legends like Jon Jones or an undisputed powerhouse like Tom Aspinall not just appealing but essential. Names like Curtis Blades or Waldo Cortez Acosta surface as legitimate threats, but they don't echo with the same magnitude. They don't pull the same gravitational attention as those colossal clashes hovering above them. And that contrast exposes the UFC's real intention. This isn't about routine defenses or slow climbs. It's about stacking Pereira's path with moments that detonate interest, fights that feel too big to miss. With an 8-fight deal binding him, every booking becomes a calculated move toward maximum impact, maximum revenue, and maximum chaos, ensuring that what lies ahead isn't ordinary competition but a relentless sequence of high-stakes events designed to define an era.
Shit, and let me tell you, Strickland won't back down. Just because he's there with a bunch of Chechens, just because apparently the Chechens are looking for him, Strickland doesn't care. He's not going to be intimidated, right? He's going to have a gun on him. He's not going to give a shit. If Hamzat gets through him and defends against Imavov or whatever, tell me. And if Pereira, whether he's the champion or not, in fact, there's probably more of a chance of Hamzat versus Pereira if Pereira isn't the champion, because they can just do a grudge match, they can just do a fun fight. We can see Hamzat Chimaev at heavyweight, probably a little bit heavy and a little bit slower, but of course...
Hamzat Chimaev versus Alex Pereira has been simmering on the edge of eruption for years, and the speaker cut straight to why it's a fight that demands attention. Hamzat's fiery, trash-talking aggression crashing against Pereira's cold, calculating stoicism promises fireworks from the opening bell, a spectacle built as much on personality as it is on skill. But the real twist lurks in the possibility of Hamzat stepping up to heavyweight, a move that the speaker teases with caution, a little heavier, a touch slower, but packed with raw, unpredictable power. That shift doesn't just change his physicality, it reshapes the entire chessboard of strategy, creating a dangerous, unfamiliar puzzle for Pereira. This isn't merely a matchup, it's a collision of styles, temperaments, and raw force, a test that could push both men to limits fans have only imagined.
A lifetime deal. Fair play to Alex Pereira. Is this the fastest rise and most impressive run in the UFC in the shortest amount of time? Of course, there's legends of the game. There is everyone I said before, Anderson, Jon Jones, Demetrius, George St. Pierre, but these were guys that were around for multiple generations of fighters. Alex Pereira got here only a few years ago, and he is now almost a 3-weight division champion, and by far one of the biggest names in the sport. I became a champion eventually after toiling away for almost 11 years, losing an eye, losing fights, right? Having grit and determination. Sure, I didn't do it like Alex Pereira. This is kind of like Conor McGregor.
The commentary zeroes in on Alex Pereira's meteoric, almost unreal rise in the UFC, daring to ask if it stands as the fastest and most jaw-dropping in the sport's history. Unlike legends such as Anderson Silva, Georges St. Pierre, or even Jon Jones, who meticulously built their empires over decades, Pereira ripped through divisions at a pace that feels almost reckless, achieving multi-divisional championship glory before most could blink. That velocity transforms every potential clash into something monumental, especially when the stakes involve a GOAT like Jon Jones or the unstoppable force of Tom Aspinall. Each fight becomes less a contest and more a seismic event, a testament to a path so singular it defies comparison. Pereira's trajectory doesn't just set him apart, it elevates the anticipation for his next opponent to almost unbearable levels, highlighting the rare, magnetic allure of every bout he steps into.
Conor's rise was bigger than Pereira's, but who else outside of Conor McGregor and Alex Pereira? You got Ilia Topuria. Habib, he took the slow route, he took the slow path, the long and winding road, and when he got that fight with Conor McGregor, that's when he became an international superstar and regarded as one of the GOATs. But again, does this make him the best of all time? Is this one of the fastest rises that we've ever seen? And who does he fight over 8 fights? Congrats to Ciryl Gane. Incredible news, and I cannot wait to see the man step back in the octagon at the White House. As I say, I pitched it to Dana White. I had to raise my hand. I had my opportunity. I'm sitting there. We were announcing a bunch of fights. I wasn't...
When the speaker draws the line between Pereira and Conor McGregor, the contrast is electric, highlighting just how blisteringly fast Poatan has stamped his mark on the sport. McGregor may have captured slightly more global superstardom, but Pereira's feat, claiming championships across multiple divisions in record time, time carries a purity of sporting dominance that feels almost untouchable. The segment circles back to the question that hangs like a shadow over every prediction: who will step into the cage with him across this 8-fight deal? With a legacy already etched but far from finished, every opponent becomes a potential headline, a defining chapter in what is shaping up to be a career for the ages. Whether it's a returning Jon Jones, the reigning force of Tom Aspinall, or a feral, hungry Khamzat Chimaev, the Stonehand's path is lined with titanic possibilities. Every fight threatens to reshape the landscape, making the horizon of his career feel boundless, unpredictable, and dangerously magnetic.